Hello, I'm David Chaston with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This week at Everything You Need to Know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock. With news, Chinese consumers may be taking over the role American consumers have of driving the world economy. Firstly, in the US, however, consumer sentiment slipped sharply in early November and unexpectedly, though the index remained at the second highest level of the year so far. The University of Michigan's index fell to 97.8 in November, well below expectations of a level higher than the 100.7 index level at the end of October. Over the weekend, China announced that foreign financial institutions can set up there independently. It is a major step towards opening its financial system, saying it will remove foreign ownership limits on banks while allowing overseas firms to take majority stakes in local securities ventures, fund managers and insurers. China is raising its foreign ownership cap from 49% to 51%, and it said it will scrap the limit altogether in 3 years. It's being claimed a big bang moment, one Wall Street has waited a long time for. Others doubt its importance, however, noting how hard it is to operate in China profitably, given the sector is dominated by state-owned enterprises. China's Singles' Day sales have reached gigantic proportions. Alibaba said it sold more than $25 billion worth of merchandise through its Alipay payments platform on November the 11th, an increase of 39% compared with 2016. Mobile Alipay accounted for 90% of total Alibaba sales that day. Just think about that, $25 billion plus in just one day. It's a monumental level. $1 billion in 1 year is huge. $25 billion in one day is in another sphere altogether. And that's not all. JD.com said it booked $19 billion in sales over an 11-day period, stretched so it could handle the logistics. Other rivals also booked huge increases this year. This sort of activity is certainly large enough to think that the Chinese consumer could replace the American consumer as the driver of the global economy. As a point of reference, the whole US economy books activity of about $50 billion a day. And staying in China, their major SOE banks are in trouble with regulators, lending more in 9 months to September than for all of 2016. The 4 large ones are having to get waivers from those regulators, and that is putting a crimp on second-tier banks. The central bank is trying to restrain runaway lending growth, but at this rate it's up more than 30%. The Chinese media is calling this a tightening. And the financial crisis in Venezuela is getting severe now. The state electricity company defaulted, and International Swaps and Derivatives Association is to decide soon whether the late and partial payments of $1.2 billion due last week from their state-owned oil company constitutes a default. And it probably does. The creditors can now take legal action to confiscate Venezuelan assets abroad, such as oil tankers and even refineries owned by the US-based Venezuelan subsidiary Citgo. In Australia, Fonterra's new status as Australia's largest dairy company after the stumbles and auction of Murray Goulburn is going to come under a quick challenge from Canadian giant Saputo, which is close to acquiring Murray Goulburn. Saputo announced it is ready to pay leading prices to dairy farmers for their milk. Game on, and Fonterra's newfound profitability there could be short-lived. In New York, the US Treasury 10-year yield ended last week up sharply at 2.4%. The price of crude oil is slightly lower at just under $57 a barrel, while the Brent benchmark is just over $63.50 a barrel. The price of gold was also quite a bit lower, down $11 at $1,275 an ounce. And the Bitcoin price has fallen very sharply, down $1,100. Now it's just at $6,076. That is a 15% drop in just 2 days. And in New Zealand dollars, Bitcoin is now priced at $8,776. That's a long way from the $10,000 level it was just at the end of last week. Fast up, followed by a very fast down. And the Kiwi dollar ended last week on a slightly softer note. We're just on 69.3 US cents. On the cross rates, we're at 90.5 US cents and against the euro, 59.4 euro cents. That puts the TWI at 72.5. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.